third graders. This is a different way to have a class together. We're out here at night. I decided to start our study about vernal pools with you at night because listen to what's happening. This is the time of day when it's most active. So the vernal pool is a really interesting habitat. It's like a woodland pond, but it doesn't hold its water all year round. Bigger than a puddle, smaller than a pond. We'll get into more of the details over the weeks as we continue to study this habitat. But I really wanted to get out here with you tonight because it's the first warm, wet night, and that means that 2 of the inhabitants of the vernal pool are out here looking for mates tonight. The one you're hearing is the wood frog. And the other one that is busy in the vernal pool tonight, you can't hear, they're silent. But we're going to see some of them swimming and we're going to see some of them walking around. And that is called the yellow spotted salamander. Sometimes people just call it the spotted salamander. So here's your first introduction to vernal pools. Nighttime, early spring, wet, warm night. And everyone's looking for a mate. They're ready to lay eggs. Let's take a close-up look at both the wood frog and at the spotted salamander. Frogs and salamanders are related to each other. They're also related to toads. They're all amphibians. Hey friends, I was just wondering if it was maybe a little confusing because it's so dark here and I've told you that it's frogs and you've seen some frogs, but it sounds like ducks, right? Doesn't that sound like ducks quacking? What a crazy sound. And it's a sound we only hear in the early springtime.
You might be able to notice that it's a fairly small frog, kind of small to medium size, and from right behind its eyes, down its side, there's a little ridge. Something else about the wood frog I noticed is that it looks like it has on white lipstick. Do you notice that? One other thing, it's not so outstanding on this, but try and take a close look at it with me, friends. Right around its eye, kind of over its eye, it looks like it's wearing a black mask. And no other frog does that, and sometimes people refer to wood frogs as bandit frogs because of that. Something you might notice, friends, as you're looking at some of these wood frogs is how much variation there is between them. They all have certain characteristics that are the same that make them all the same species of frogs. They're all wood frogs. They're not green frogs or bullfrogs or spring peepers. They're all wood frogs, but some of them are a little bit bigger than others. Some of them are a little bit more brown and some are a little bit more red. Some of them have more splotches on them. So just the same way we're all people, but we all look a little bit different. It's the same for wood frogs. Oh my gosh, friends, this is like winning the jackpot tonight. I can't believe all of the exciting things we're seeing. Not only are we hearing and seeing wood frogs and seeing spotted salamanders, we are also seeing some of the first wood frog eggs that have been laid this year. So just beneath the frog that you're seeing there are some bunches of little black dots. They look like little tiny bunches of grapes or something. Well, each ball is called an egg mass. And within each egg mass could be anywhere from 500 to maybe 1,000 eggs in there. And all of those egg masses with so many eggs in each mass are laid really close to each other, because the closer they all are to each other, the warmer they'll stay. The warmer they are, the faster they'll hatch. The faster they hatch, the sooner they'll be grown-up frogs that can hop away from here before this vernal pool dries out.
Hey, my friends, let's pause for a minute and take a closer look at this spotted salamander. One of the things that you'll notice about it that's really telling, that really helps us with identification, is those bright yellow spots. There's no one else who looks quite like them. Maybe you've also heard that it's not good to hold salamanders or frogs, and I think there's really truth to that. Certainly if you're going to be holding them, be really careful. Remember, there's something that's living. Notice as this one's crawling on my hands, which by the way feels really good. I kind of keep moving one hand in front of the other so that it doesn't fall. I'm also kneeling down on the ground so that in case it does slip out of my hand, it doesn't have a far fall. It's just like a little hop down. But the reason that people talk about not holding salamanders or frogs is because their skin is really delicate. They belong to a group of animals called amphibians. And amphibian means actually that you have two lives. So these animals start off looking really, really different than they look right now. And in a few weeks, you're going to get to see that because we're going to keep visiting the vernal pool and we're going to watch the development from eggs to larva. And what you're seeing right now is the latter part of their life cycle. You're seeing them as an adult. But we'll see the earlier stages in the next few weeks. So amphibians have these two really different stages to their life. And they look really, really different in each of them. Like, you are not going to believe what the larva of this looks like in a few weeks. I'm so excited to show you. One of the other things about amphibians is that they have this really moist kind of skin. Sometimes people put amphibians and reptiles together. They think that they're the same kind of animal, and they're actually really different. About the only thing they have in common is that they're both vertebrates. That means they both have backbones. Birds have backbones, fish have backbones. All mammals have backbones. That word vertebrate, we're going to come back to it again in a few weeks, so tuck that one away. When I do hold an amphibian, I make sure my hands, check them out, are really wet and kind of muddy with the pond water that's around wherever I am, and that helps to protect them a bit. They are able to take oxygen in, not only using their lungs, but also directly through their skin. So it's a really delicate organ on these organisms, on these living things. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you about spotted salamanders? Besides those bright yellow spots, which are super good at helping to identify them, their size is immense. Look at this, you guys. They are typically, as adults, they're typically 8 or 9 inches long. So go grab a ruler, do some measuring. How long is your hand? Is it 8 or 9 inches long, or is it smaller than that? How long is a ruler? Is that 8 or 9 inches long, or is it longer than that? And to give you an idea of just how big the salamander is, because it's pretty unbelievable, I want to compare it for you with another type of salamander that I think might be familiar to some of you. It's called red eft. And so I'm going to show you the difference between those two, just so that you have an appreciation of just how big this particular salamander is. And these guys aren't so easy to find. I mean, the bright yellow spot makes you think, wow, that's like, a big advertisement that'd be really easy to find. But look at it on the forest floor. It really kind of blends in with the leaves and the dark colors that are there. And the only time you see it coming to a pond or a vernal pool is this time of year. It's coming there just to mate. That's the one thing that it's going to do. It wants to mate and it wants to lay eggs. But the rest of the year, it lives in the forest. So if you are someone who likes to explore in the forest and and you spend some time on the forest floor, and maybe I would suggest looking under like pieces of bark or pieces of wood that might be out there that would have moisture under them. They really, really like moisture. So that's where they spend most of the year. In the winter, when it's too cold for them, they actually spend the winter in the tunnels or like burrows of other animals, like maybe a mole. A spotted salamander belongs to a family of salamanders called mole salamanders, and that's where I think they get their name. I wanted to show you a red eft next to him so that you could appreciate just how big this spotted salamander is. Pretty cool just to see the difference in size. I want you to appreciate, and I've seen spotted salamanders bigger than this one, but this is a pretty good size. And in this hand here I have my red eft, which might be familiar to you. We often see them on forest floors. This one's really sleepy tonight. Let's see. Both salamanders, but a lot of differences. They're both a little shy. Despite all the differences, notice they have some similarities. They both have that kind of delicate, moist skin. The red eft is a little bit drier because he's spending his time on land right now. They both have short legs. They both breathe with lungs. They both have similar shaped bodies, heads, and tails. So those are all indicative of salamanders. And in New Hampshire and in Vermont, we have anywhere between 10 and 12 different species of salamanders that live here. But this particular one, the spotted salamander, is what scientists call an indicator species of a vernal pool. And the vernal pool is the habitat that we're going to be studying over the next month or so. Indicator species means if I see this kind of an animal in that particular habitat, it is a clue to me that it is that habitat. So if you see a spotted salamander or salamander eggs, spotted salamander eggs, along with signs of a few other organisms that we're going to meet in the next few weeks, it would indicate to you, that's what indicator species means, it would indicate to you that this is a vernal pool. Now, our red spotted newt, this little salamander down here, who is feeling really camera shy tonight, he lives in lots of different places. He does not necessarily lay his eggs in a vernal pool. He travels all over the place. He lays his eggs in a very different, or she lays her eggs in a very different way, a different manner than the spotted salamander. So if you happen to see this organism by a body of water in the woods, that really does not indicate to you that it's a vernal pool. But if you see this one, it indicates to you just where we are tonight, at a vernal pool. Hey friends, you might be noticing that there are a lot of leaves in this vernal pool, and that's a really important part of this ecosystem. It helps for the salamanders and frogs to be able to camouflage themselves, for sure, but also, as these leaves are decaying and breaking down, they're releasing a lot of nutrients. And the little larvae that are going to be in the eggs that are going to hatch out pretty soon are going to rely on that for some of their nutrition. We'll come back and visit them again in a couple weeks. So the first two visitors to come to a vernal pool are 1, the wood frog, and 2, the spotted salamander. How cool that we get to see both of them on this same night. If you have enjoyed this video, please visit our website to learn more about what we do and consider making a donation.